talking brain. Ask the right questions, uncovers the blinds.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Soul's Talking Brain here on Being Love TV. I am Aline Ohannessian, and this is
your very special guest.
Our very special guest. And she is
Roni Lipstein. Thank you all for coming. Yay!
Positive energies to all. Anyone who's watching right now live, thank you for joining. Anyone who's watching recorded, nice to see you. Thank you for having us. And today is a very special day. It's a wonderful, wonderful, well, we are entering into our spring season and things are blossoming, literally, and the sun is shining, the warmth is coming through, and there's beautiful things happening, starting right here with us. Bum, bum, bum. And today's guest, yes, she is sitting right here with me, next to me, Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein. Now, this is your full name.
Yes.
This is her full name.
It's my
We
birth
call
name.
her by Ronnie.
Yes.
So, which is very sweet. I mean, Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein is just really wonderful too. Sorry, you know.
Thank you.
I like Ronnie as well.
Thank you. My mother and father will be very happy to hear that.
Well, it is. It's a lovely. Well, I mean, it is. It's, you know, this is your name. It's you know, it's not just your name, but it is also her name that is in her new latest published books. That's right. That is right. Yes! It's actually exciting. Very exciting. So, we have
It is very exciting, yes.
new. We've just recently have a new latest published 2 books, actually. One that was published a month ago.
Yep. To the day.
And the second one was published today.
Yes.
But will be available in another day or 2, possibly.
Yeah. Anywhere from 24 to 72 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, let's find out who this fabulous woman next to me is. Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein, commonly known to most as Ronnie, and to many as Radiating Love, is the founding angel of Sanctuary Soul Sanctuary, your wisdom and wellness community lounge, and her multi-blossoming,
Either way works.
Either way, Blossoming Lotus, Being Love TV, which is here right now, Fulfilled Destiny S3, Soul's Talking Brain, which is the show right here, as well as our blog online, and Artwave Design. Ronnie courageously chose to walk the path less traveled and dedicated herself to be a visionary artist of love, holistic enlightenment guide light, wisdom and wellness life coach, psychotherapist with heart, fitness and nutritional consultant and trainer, ontological literary artist, philosopher, and TV talk show hostess. Wah! And now published author of her latest 2 books, Radiating Soul Light, Serenity Through Soul Guidebook series.
Radiate Soul Light.
Radiating
Love is the show.
Oh, okay. Now,
There's just so much radiance.
That's just, like, that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. That's first of all, that's a huge title. It's a huge, wonderful, big things that you're doing. That's a lot. So where does that come from? Where does that come from? You know, here, let's put it up again. You know, because I can't repeat it. It's visionary artist of love, holistic enlightenment guide light, wisdom and wellness life coach, psychotherapist with heart, fitness and nutritional consultant and trainer, ontological literary artist, philosopher and TV talk show hostess, and now author of 2 of her latest books published. Wow. Where does that all come from? Where does that all come from? Well, first of all, where is all of what is all of the different many titles that you've have given to us?
When you are out in the world, there are many different labels, And there are many
True.
different people.
Mm-hmm.
And different people are more easily identifiable with one or the other labels.
Mm-hmm.
And the services that I provide are holistic in nature. So they assist one body, mind, heart, and soul.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, it can be fun to come up with various titles and labels depending upon who it is you're speaking to.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, for sure.
So you were asking where that all came from. That all came from an inherent compulsion, necessity, if you will, to fulfill my personal legend or my life's purpose. And that life's purpose is that inherent compulsion, that feeling within self that there's something I'm here to do, and the something that I'm here to do is to be of service to humanity. And the means by which I'm here to do that is through body, mind, heart, and soul, through a holistic perspective of the human being and how the human being is consciously perceiving, receiving, and responding to self and life in general. So I have a lot of training that is holistic in nature. So I have training in psychology, I have training in the metaphysical sciences, I have training in fitness, and I have training in nutrition.
So it's not just psychological. It's also physical. It's body, mind, soul. It's holistic, as you said.
Anything that happens on any one level affects all levels, and that's why holistic, and why I chose. I don't remember how long ago it was. A couple of decades ago, when holistic was only ever spelt with an H, and it did not resonate with me. Because I'm not talking about simply alternative. I'm talking about the whole.
Well, because
as in WHOLE.
So it's not a whole like a whole.
Right.
Because I mean, really, whole is as a HOLE is a whole.
HOLI.
It's not whole as WHOLE.
Yeah.
So so obviously you've taken it upon yourself and just changed it.
Well, there are people who use it now, but I keep the E and I put a little dash.
Right.
And the reason for that is because the different factions of therapies, whether they be contemporary medicine or alternative medicines, whether it be mindfulness or physical health, spiritual health, all of these are actually integrated and interwoven and affect each other.
For sure.
So in order to authentically assist someone is to ensure that you aren't just looking at them through one small lens, but as a whole.
For sure, yeah.
So that...
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That definitely makes sense. So in a nutshell, with all those multi titles, is you decided to maintain that as opposed to just put them all together into one.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. And there you go.
I mean, it's possible if I was to write out, something that went on and on and on and on, but we are a multi-dimensional species.
And
again, there are many different people in this world. Some have never heard of the term holistic or enlightenment. It's just not something that is in their vocabulary. And, for some people, psychotherapist might be a little scary. For some, fitness trainer is, it's also many different factions that I do. Yeah. And also, the overall intention of what I'm doing is expanding love consciousness, which in and of itself could, if you were looking for one label, and that also, labels are very,
it's never ending.
Yeah.
Speaking of love consciousness and what you are here to do as your purpose, as your raison d'etre,
which there's so many
holistically.
Yes.
Let us talk about the first book that you have published. Actually, if I may, Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein, because, you know.
It's okay, we can call
we
me
can
Ronnie
call you
for the
Ronnie.
show.
There's 3 books, correct? You have actually written 3 books.
I've actually written 5. The other 2, there's a fitness book and a nutrition book, which will be coming out later. But there are 3 books in the Radiate Soul Light package, if you shall. And the 2 books that are currently available as ebooks are the Serenity Through Soul Activity and Adventure Home Play Guidebook series.
So this is what you see on the screen right now, which is the more warmer, reddish, more maroonish one is the first series. Series 1 of the Guidebook.
Yeah, so that one is Discovering and Embracing Self. And we can speak about it when we take the pictures off
For
if
sure,
you want.
yeah.
And then the second book, which is the green tone, which is of the heart chakra.
Yes, of the heart chakra.
So also warm, but brilliant and light.
Yes.
Is Living Aware, the how to exist authentically, embodying love consciousness.
So what I would actually like to know, and I'm sure if anyone is watching right now, you know, wanting to know where all this has begun. Where did this all birth? Where did we birth from all this? You know, like for instance, you say you have written 3 books. So the very first book is the main book.
These
correct?
2 books are based on the first book. So the first book is Radiate Soul Light. And Radiate Soul Light is a compilation of short stories about my personal journey through expanding love consciousness, which, of course, is infinite. So it's still happening.
Yes, this is
still
true.
expanding,
Well,
still going through what I'm going through.
It's infinite, yeah.
But it was, again, the book actually didn't begin as a book. It simply began as my writing and writing several stories about my own personal journey and, you know, different events in my life that had happened.
Right.
And what happened was that when I was doing therapy or life coaching or enlightenment guidance with varying angel partners, which is what I call my clients, I started to share my writing. And what I found was that when I was sharing these with my angel partners, my clients, they were almost catapulted by like many, like if I would have sat with them for three journeys, 3 sessions, this would have made it into 1 session. By my sharing these essays and therefore standing essentially naked before them, transparent and authentic within my own journeys in life and understanding and increasing my awareness and my consciousness, it made it easier for them to face their own fears. Because essentially the expansion of love consciousness is facing one's fears. It's being courageous enough to face your fears. And this sharing of my personal stories allowed others to have this very comforting feeling that allowed them the courage that they required to be facing fears that otherwise may have seemed too daunting to face and too horrific to even acknowledge unto themselves, let alone share with me, even though we were in a therapy session, which is one of the safest places that you can be. So from that came the idea to create the guidebooks. So the guidebooks are essentially, each guidebook has 12 journeys in them.
So there's the main book,
which will be published in May.
Which will be published in May.
Of 2015, of this year, yeah.
And out of the main book is the inspiration for these 2 guidebooks that right now is published. So what is the inspiration with respect to What is the difference between these
between
two
the two
guidebooks?
guidebooks?
I mean,
Okay.
yes. I mean, there's two guidebooks. So.
Yeah. So first of all, each guidebook has 12 journeys, or I call it a home play guidebook as opposed to a workbook. And in a workbook, you would have 12 exercises. I have 12 adventure and activity home play journeys. So each book has 12 journeys.
So 12 journeys.
Okay.
Okay.
And so
12 journeys. Just to make it clear, is basically the 12 different steps. It's through the guidebook.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Which we call them journeys.
Yes, I renamed everything.
Are we here? Are we still here?
So, 12 journeys in each book. And the first book, as I was saying earlier, is called Discovering and Embracing Self. Each guidebook is Serenity Through Soul. And the first one, Discovering and Embracing Self. So, Discovering and Embracing Self is about actually coming to the awareness.
This is the first one, right?
Yes. So it's coming to the awareness of who we are as human beings. And is the realization that we are not just bodies having an experience on this earth and going through life just here and the now. It is allowing one to have a greater understanding that we are holistic and multidimensional. We are consciousness. We are, there's a saying right now, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience as opposed to physical beings having a spiritual experience. So this book is for people who are looking to get to know self. That is the first and biggest step in the awareness, and then you get into yourself a little bit more. You know, who are you? What are you made up of? How did you get to where you are today with the thoughts and the beliefs and the values that you have? Who did you learn these from?
So you're going through the process of first getting to know or familiarize yourself, and be conscious more of who you are, and how you became who you are today. And so this first guidebook right now that you see on the screen, this guides you through each of those steps to be able to go through this process.
And then it also takes you a step beyond to also understanding why you personally, your soul personally chose to come here. What is your purpose? So here on this earth. Yeah. And it's necessary for us to be able to really have an understanding of who we are outside of, you know, what our parents told us, our teachers, our friends, siblings, associates, employees, employers, so on and so forth. So this really gives a person the opportunity to really get in touch with their authenticity. And then if they're not doing so now, to discover what their real purpose is and ways in which they might be able to manifest, materialize that within their daily lives today. So that's the first book. And then that leads you into the second book. Which is the second guidebook. Right. Yes. So it's a natural progression through the two books. So the first book, you're getting to know yourself. The second book is called Serenity Through Soul, again. But this one, Living Aware, the how-to exist authentically, embodying love consciousness. So in the first guidebook, you've learned about yourself. Get to know who you are. You got to know who you really are. And you know that you are an Earth Angel Divine. And so now how do we respect, honor who we are authentically? How are we able to truly and authentically embody our authenticity, our love consciousness? Because in my humble opinion, we are all Earth Angels Divine. We are all beings, children of the voice of love. So I'm hoping that the first book will elucidate that fact. And people will embrace our truth. And then in the second book, it gives a guide as to how we may actually manifest and materialize our truth, especially because we are living in a world today that has chosen fear consciousness over love consciousness. So it's that much more, some may say, a challenge. I prefer to say an opportunity to be who we are authentically in the face of this overall vortex of fear consciousness that we exist within today.
Well, it's kind of like, and here's it's to me, I see it as like I see it as, you know, a guide. You know, when you have when you're traveling, you're taking a vacation. You're, you know, you're going on a vacation, and you come into a new destination, a new country, and you don't know anything about this place. You know, you want to learn, you want to know, you want to explore this place, but you also want to know how this place became it, you know, what it is, and the history behind it. And so, you know, most of the times, you know, we actually have either a tour guide or we get a guidebook, you know, a travel guidebook.
I'm the tour guide, and you're your guidebook.
So then, exactly. So
we journey together.
So we've got the tour guide to life. And right here, the actual guidebook to assist you through self and through living.
Yeah.
In your life, in this existence, in your experience.
Yeah.
And not only that, but just living through self consciously, through love.
Yes.
As well, as opposed to what we have been conditioned to live more fearful or not conscious, you know, unaware, you know, sort of, you know, which is not necessarily, you know, what we are seeking, which is happiness. So it's not providing us happiness through that way, which is, you know, when you are not being conscious, when you are not living life through that and conscious. So
and both of the guidebooks, which again have the 12 steps, if you will, in each, are based on the main book, Radiate, Soul Light. So basically what I've done is the same way that I did in my guidance sessions, my therapy sessions with my clients, my angel partners. There are essays from the main book, and then there are activities that are stemming from those essays.
I'd like to actually just talk a little bit more about the first guidebook. The first guidebook, first of all, before we even get to this right now, when did you first write? When was the inspiration? When did you get this inspiration to write the very first, like how many years ago did you write this?
The first, I started writing the books about 15 years ago.
Okay, so 15 years ago. Now, you wrote all three? These particular three of the from Radiate's...
Radiate Soul Light was done 15 years ago, and then the other two books came as an inspiration from that. So they were written probably in the following year, I would say. So it took about a couple of years to complete it, and about 15 to publish.
You know, as... you know, with everything has its process, and everything has its time and journey. And wow, are we happy that and excited that finally it is available internationally for all.
Yeah, well, it was being shared on a one-to-one or in group, what we call play shops, which others call workshops. And now anybody can journey with me through the guidebooks that are available on Kobo right now.
This just for obviously you can see on the screen. This is the first guidebook of the series, the two series. This is right now. You can go straight to the URL that's in the bottom to purchase this book, and I would say once. Maybe in a couple days, or maybe give it a couple days.
By the 20th.
By the 20th of March, 2015. Just if you go to kobo.com and just type in Radiate Soul Light, Serenity Through Soul Guidebook Series, and you should be able to see the second guidebook available as well. And wow, that's amazing. So I wanted to also talk a little bit more about actually. If we could get it bigger, because I just want people to see it clearer. Radiate Soul Light. Now, this is the name that is given to all three. The first one is the main name, and the second guidebook is Radiate Soul Light, Serenity Through Soul, Series 1, Series 2.
This is Serenity Through Soul is Radiate Soul Light's Guidebooks series, right? So this is actually, the Guidebook's name is actually Serenity Through Soul, and Radiate Soul Light is the main book, and her children, if you will.
Where did you, what inspired you to give it that name? Where did Radiate Soul Light come from?
Me. Okay, so obviously the whole thing comes through me. But Radiate Soul Light, my birth name, which is on the bottom of the book, as you'll see, Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein, RSL. So, again, a very long time ago, not very long, it's not 100 years ago, but a while ago, at least a dozen years or so, I was studying with a shaman, and a shamaness actually, and she had us do this. It was just myself and another person, and we did this very private ritual under the full moon. And she had asked at some point in the ritual for us to declare our soul's name.
Okay.
And I had nothing. I mean, I didn't have nothing. I had a whole whack of things coming through, so I couldn't choose. But this spawned an inspiration with respect to retrieving my soul's name. And I like to play with words, obviously, and numbers, and meanings behind things. I'm very into seeing behind, underneath, the multiple layers that exist with respect to
she likes
pretty much anything.
She's like the explorer of life, just exploring
love consciousness.
Love consciousness.
So I was playing with my name one day. I think I may have been just writing my. I had to write my signature out, and do I want to write it long? Do I want to just write my initials? And then that led me into playing with my initials, RSL, and I just got this inspiration. All of a sudden in my head, I was like, RSL. And I was like, maybe my soul's name comes from my actual name. So, it's just a new way that we're doing the show now. I'm just going to go a little wonky
just
here,
a little bit,
there,
there we go. Woo!
Keep it all
just
exciting.
In case, just waking you up a little bit, just moving things around.
Yeah, it's a psychedelic show.
Yes!
So, RSL, I started playing with it and came to Radiate Soul Light, which since then, which again, it's been at least 12 to 15 years that I did that. So since then, Radiate Soul Light has also shown me Radiate Self-Love, which has also inspired the name of our other show on Being Love TV,
right.
Radiating Love, which we are hoping to broadcast potentially on Friday.
Soon, yes.
Yes, on the 20th of March. So that's where it came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
then I did it for my whole family, and it worked, and I was just like, oh my gosh, these are our soul's names. This is so amazing.
And this just comes, you're just using the first letters.
Your acronym. So Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein or Ronnie Cheryl Lipstein, it makes no difference. It's RSL. Right? So.
Speaking of titles and presentations and just fabulous, wonderful visuals, as you can see, the cover. Now, I'm very interested about the cover, which is which
who designed the cover?
Which has a specific logo, which is what we're looking at. The different layers and the different signs that it represent. What does the design represent to you right now? As we're looking at it, we're seeing the heart, we're seeing the tetrahedron, we're seeing a pentagram, we're seeing an eye, and then we're seeing a spiral of DNA. We're seeing We're seeing it all sort of intermingled. How did this come to be?
You're talking just about the main logo.
The main
on the
logo,
cover.
it's on the cover. What are the elements that we're seeing on the
main
cover?
logo on the cover, which I'm just gonna make a quick comment about here and now. The entire cover actually was put together artistically by none other than our absolute queen of design, Miss Aline Ohannessian. So, yay!
Yay me!
Yay to Aline. Thank you so much for bringing to life my sketch drawing. So this is also something that I have been playing with probably longer than the book. I would say maybe 20 years. Mm-hmm. These are some of the symbols that have always resonated deeply with me. Mm-hmm. And I always played around with ways of putting them together, and then it came to me. So essentially you have, as you mentioned, the heart, the tetrahedron, the pentagram, the eye of awareness, and the DNA, spiraling DNA. And essentially what we have is the tetrahedron is known in sacred geometry to be the symbol of creation itself. Mm-hmm. It is the divine masculine and the divine feminine mm-hmm. energies. Mm-hmm. And so it is the spark mm-hmm. of divinity mm-hmm. and the spark of creation of that divinity itself. So it is creation, mm-hmm. ultimate creation. Mm-hmm. The pentagram, for me, has always symbolized earth, mm-hmm. Earth magic, and the human being. You have the head, the two hands, mm-hmm. and the 2 feet, or 2 arms and 2 legs. Mm-hmm. So that's the pentagram. It's the manifestation of creation in the physical realm. Then you have the eye in the middle, which is my eye, because you are going through this through my perception, mm-hmm. my personal take.
Very smart.
On love consciousness. Mm-hmm. So it's not the eye of awareness, but in this case,
it's your eye.
It's my eye of awareness. Uh-huh. And all of this is embraced within a heart, which symbolizes love, mm-hmm. and in this case, agape, or unconditional or divine mm-hmm. love. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then from the bottom of the heart, we have the spiraling DNA. Mm-hmm. And I didn't just have the DNA as a strand. Mm-hmm. I had it that it has the spirals because 1, we are infinite. Spirals. 2, we are infinitely evolving. Mm-hmm. And 3, we have discovered recently, now scientifically backed, that we can actually alter the DNA itself. Mm-hmm. So it was important for me to ensure that that was also communicated mm-hmm. in the design. And then there's a beautiful, brilliant splash of light going through the DNA, which we are wanting to bring light through mm-hmm. the density of the physical, mm-hmm. which is not to say that there's anything wrong with the darkness, because mm-hmm. within our being, within the body, it's quite dark. Quite. But it's also it's magical, mystical, and marvelous. Mm-hmm. Yes. But it is to achieve the divine, delicate balance of light and dark. Mm-hmm. So that is my little story of the logo.
The little story.
Yes, which you brought to life so magnificently. I am beyond. If you can actually put up the 2 books with us, that would be great.
Yes, actually.
If you can note, there are so many multitude of layers in the book covers that Aline brought in because she knows me so well and she understands the purpose of the books and intention behind them. So she multi-layered it, and not that you can necessarily see each layer clearly, but they're all there in different parts of the cover and representing our multi-layered, multiplicit,
which is going within and
multi-dimensional beingness.
Well, we are multi-layered, yes.
And then you also have within the cover the colors themselves of the books. Mm-hmm. So the first book, where we're getting to know ourselves, is more the coloring of the root chakra, mm-hmm. which is the materialized manifestation of the physical. Mm-hmm. And then the second is more the coloring of the heart chakra mm-hmm. and the beingness, mm-hmm. the the act of being
living, yes,
the love
being,
consciousness.
the love consciousness.
So there's much meaning within. There's lots of spirals and butterflies for metamorphosis, spirals for the infinite light, and just
all the
wonderfulness. Yes,
we're gonna take a few seconds, actually, yeah, just a moment. And we're going to be right back here with Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein and her books. And we're going to talk a bit more about what is going on a more in-depth, a little bit, not giving anything away.
No!
We'll be right
back. Not to me either.
Back.
Do we have the email address?
We do. We do have the email. We asked you. We actually. If you've seen our show before, then you know that we have wonderful guests that we bring onto our show, that we talk to, that are doing wonderful things in this world. Whether it is a product, book, or they themselves are making a difference that is beneficial to the entire world. We here love to share,
celebrate,
and
yes.
celebrate that.
Yes.
So if you know of anyone, or you know yourself, or any ideas that you may have that you would like us to share on the show today, share on the show, not today, but share on the show, there's an email below. You can see, you can get in touch with us. It's beinglove@oneisall.com. One is a number one.com. As well as other means of being able to share. So we also would like you to also share. If this is resonating with you, please do share. Caring is sharing. Sharing is caring. Did I say that backwards? I did. Sharing. Okay. Caring is loving. Loving love. La 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 love. You can get in touch with us and see what we're doing on elsewhere online. On Twitter, we are Being Love TV. On Facebook, his Facebook page for Souls Talking Brain is souls.talking.brain, and YouTube is Souls Talking Brain. So please do follow or subscribe to any one of those places, and
to all of them, and share with everybody that you know.
And then you'll be up to date with all the things that we are doing, upcoming shows, and all wonderful, fabulous things that I'm sure you will benefit as well from. And of course, any of shows that you would like to see that are previous shows, all is recorded, and we put it up on our YouTube channel, so please do check those out as well. Ba-dum-bum-bum. So back to our Rhonda Cheryl Lipstein, our fabulous, wonderful, latest published author.
Yes.
Wow, it's quite exciting. Listen, 15 years. 15 years, you wrote a book. 3 of them. Actually, she said 5, but we've got...
Well, the other 2 books I wrote probably 5 to 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So...
one of them is a fitness book, and the other one is a nutrition book.
And are we going to be seeing these books published as well?
Yeah.
In the near... Fabulous.
Yeah.
Look at that.
But right now we're focusing on Radiate Soul Light.
That's right.
Yeah.
Keep it down here. Don't go too far. I would actually like to... What would you expect for people who buy this book to get out of it? Like, what would you expect or would like for people to get and receive from these guidebooks that are right now published?
The first thing that came to me when you were asking that question was, like, almost like a sigh of relief and a relaxing of body, mind, heart, and soul, at the same time as this incipient, tingly, wonderful feeling of excitation and inspiration with respect to how one feels about themselves and about life in general. It's, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we live in a world that currently, anyways, has chosen the paradigm consciousness of fear. And we live in a world that, for the most part, most of us, even though we are coming from an absolutely authentic place of love, are doing so through fear. So you have parents unwittingly imbibing fear into their children because their consciousness paradigm is one that is convoluted by fear, and thus they are not even aware of the fact that they are doing this, and that they are not coming authentically in essence, that it is authentically love, even though they are being loving. Their loving is corroded by fear. And we pass these...
Well, it's conditioned, right?
We pass these ideas on to our children. And then they go out into the world, and they are looking through the eyes of fear. And so they are interpreting the world, and worse yet, themselves, through these eyes of fear. So I'm hoping that people who are seeking some sort of respite from the heaviness that fear brings will find that relief in these books, but more so will find an excitation and inspiration for life and towards themselves, and learn to differentiate the voice of fear from the authentic voice of love, which means they need to learn what the authentic voice of love is first. Well, and for many people, I have found, in journeying with my angel partners, for example, I have found that many people actually have a very big opportunity to learn what the voice of love would even sound like and would say. It's so foreign to them, and not just foreign, but there is such an enormous fear about even allowing oneself to listen to this voice. It's like, no, that it's impossible. There's no way. Like that, no way. No one would ever say that to me. It's not possible that someone would tell me that I am such a stunningly beautiful being of love.
Oh, I think some people, it might even, they don't believe it. Or they simply think it's too much.
Right.
Because it's like, no, it has to be a little bit bad too.
So
it's just what, it's just a balance, It's to some degree. It's what we're conditioned. We're not conditioned to be idolized, and especially.
Well, it's not about idolizing. It's really not, because there is I have a very big secret to share with everybody. So people also have this fear, like you were saying, people feel the need to have some bad in there. Or when you talk about somebody that's being completely loved, all of a sudden words like, well, you're idolizing. And there's this similar thing with self-love, where it's like, oh, you're so obnoxious or self-serving or self-centered
or conceited or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, full of yourself.
But the reality is to authentically love oneself is to know that you are one of all, that you are one with, equal to, part of all, the same one. And so when you are loving self, you are actually loving everyone. When you are seeing yourself through the eyes of love, you are seeing everyone through the eyes of love. Well, therefore, it is not idolizing.
No. Well, it
is revering. It is a humbled, honoring place of inspiration, appreciation, reverence, gratitude, respect, as opposed to love consciousness or not as opposed to, which is love consciousness, as opposed to anything that is fear consciousness based, like idolatry or something like that.
What is that? What did you say?
Idolatry, like you're idolizing.
Oh, idolizing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is a new era. It's a new time that people are just now, getting into a place where, before it's that you look outside of self, and the way it's been for centuries is that you don't start with self. You start with the other, which is, it's kind of like, religion, for example. Religion started that way,
Well, with God,
religion,
taking you outside of yourself.
Immediately you are second.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately you are less than, or you are not enough, or you are not perfect. So in that way, we have been conditioned to not necessarily see that it is the self that is the most important, because it's also not translated properly.
And it can work both ways, obviously. You can start with the holistic perspective, which is that we are all part of the one.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. I mean, people make it into such a out there, off the wall concept. But the reality is that we are all one species.
Yeah.
We are all living on one planet. We are all living in one universe. We are all in one, like it's all one. Yeah. And we're all part of the one. So you can get rid of the parts that you find to be fluffy or too far out of reach or out of whack, and just bring it down to the very simple fundamentals. It makes no difference where you come from. You can be a complete spiritual flower child, and you can be a totally regimented scientist. Either way you look at it, we are one.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you want to start with the we are one and then work your way to the one, or you want to start with the one and work your way to the all, it's the point that you have to make sure that you're doing that connection one way or the other. With religion, there is an automatic disjoint between the one and the all. You are serving the one, not the one serving the all.
Exactly.
You are under the one, not the one providing for the all.
Right.
You need to be afraid of. You need to bow down to. You need to pray to. You need to ask forgiveness from this one.
Yeah.
As opposed to this one ever having to ask forgiveness, pray, or bend down to the all.
Well, it's the same because we're raised we're raised for I don't know how long in a society, in a life, in a system that is hierarchical, and this is one of the things that you were talking about, that everything with respect to what it is and how it is that what you do is holistic. So it's whole. Everything is included. So the fact that we're living in a hierarchical system and for quite many years, one of the things that I will always say is that we should be living in a system that is whole-archic as opposed to hierarchic.
Yes.
Because it's the same thing as when you are reaching the one most important thing that it is that we're all reaching here and wanting is happiness and love. The ultimate freedom of just being happy is that you got to be taking into consideration everything, because there's just not one thing. So yes, whole-archically. So you're living in a system that is whole-archic is also the same way as that when you are taking care of yourself, you've got to do it wholefully, right? So it's that is what we are coming out of and coming into. And in order to do that,
we're coming out of
the whole sort of outside of ourselves,
right?
Putting ourselves second,
right? So we're coming out of separation into integrated unity, basically.
Exactly. So, and this is basically what these guidebooks are about. Correct?
Everything that I do, is about expanding love consciousness. Everything that I do is geared to assisting, uplifting, empowering, and enlightening any who are seeking to love consciousness. And the more of we who are dedicated and committed to doing everything that we can to break these incipient addictions to fear consciousness, and I say incipient addictions because these are the habits of our species that are so ingrained, so deeply interwoven, as I mentioned earlier, that parents are teaching these to their children unwittingly. They are unaware of the fact that they are passing on fear consciousness. So it is so unbelievably interwoven that you have spiritualists, including myself, who will speak about love consciousness, and they will speak about love consciousness utilizing fear consciousness.
Yeah.
And well, if you don't follow this, then you are in for so much stress and pain and suffering. It's like, really? Right? Which is very much like religion, because religion's really, what are they? They are themselves. They started off not as these stringent, you have to love God and follow his rule. They started off as one man's way of finding love consciousness and sharing that with the masses. This is what I did. This is how I did it. This is what I found worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. And it became very stringent, and it became very, rule-oriented, instead of allowing one the freedom to find within themselves their own unique, wonderful way of expressing love consciousness. We are infinite. There isn't just one of us living on this planet. There are 8 billion of us, and there are 8 billion of us for a reason, because it is infinite the number of ways in which love consciousness may be expressed. This is my way. This is what I have found has helped me, has helped my clients, my angel partners, to do the best that they can do to be the I and me that we love ourselves to be. And if it works for you, that is phenomenal. If it brings forth some inspiration within you, if it ignites some pondering within you, the simple pondering of, where did I learn to believe what I believe? Where did I pick up on my values? Are these really mine? That question in and of itself is a masterpiece waiting to be created. From within the being, because it is so likely that there is that masterpiece within so many of us that is not being expressed, because we're not even aware that it's there, because we have been told that we need to do X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C. That's it. That's all. Like horses with blinders on, that we don't ever bother to take the time to actually listen to ourselves,
which we don't even know which self that is. To be able to listen to ourselves.
Exactly.
We are getting close to our show finale of this evening, and I would like to, just before we go, to ensure that these books again are now available. There's 2 guidebooks are now available on kobo.com, and you can go to kobo.com and then just type in Radiate Soul Light, or you can type in Rhonda Shara Lipstein, and then you can get the books under her books under her name as well. And another thing, which is right now, that is available, that you can get right now, right here, right now, in this very moment, is the first guidebook, which you can see the URL. It's shortened for bit.ly/ly /RSLONE. So it's RSL1.
Yeah, and they should, and it's their fun activities. They will spruce up, brighten up your life and those of your family and friends.
It's light.
They will bring joy and bliss and love, consciousness into your day-to-day being. It's 12 journeys in each one. You can journey them every day, every week, every month. So you can go as fast or as slow as you would like to. The gift of self-help is that you get to go at your own pace. And I definitely recommend going on a weekly basis at the shortest amount of time. I wouldn't do it on a daily basis. You do need some time for some of the activities.
Well, you can redo them as well, no?
And that's another thing. Again, we're multi-layered. So I have been editing the books recently, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should do my own guidebook.
There you go.
Because you garner wisdom and enlightenment, and in the very, very same thing that you are garnering wisdom and enlightenment about, you can garner even more. Infinitum. Infinitum. So it's continuous. We are continuously evolving. We are always learning. Always. So these books are books that are, as my mom had said actually, which was such a beautiful thing, they are timeless. And though they were written 15 years ago, in 15 years from now, they will still be relevant.
Assisting self has no time.
And they will be relevant for time immemortem. So use them, and you can use them again and again and again. And of course, stay tuned, because in May we will have the main book coming out, which again will also be something to uplift, assist, inspire, empower, and enlighten. And
wonderful, wonderful things to look forward to.
For now, you can go to kobo.com and buy the 2 guidebooks. And enjoy the journey, the adventurous journey to embrace yourself in love.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. We will be back here next week. Exactly in a week, we have another guest, returning guest, actually. Very excited about that show. That will be March 25th,
yes,
I believe.
And it will be Roberta Grimes will be joining us, and she will be discussing her book, Staying in Touch, which is a guide to speaking to our loved ones who have transcended the physical form, or in more common layman terms, who have deceased or otherwise died. And she guides us as to how we may communicate with them, the fact that we can communicate with them and that they are communicating with us, and to keep those lines of dialogue open. And therefore, the love consciousness ever blossoming and blooming, eternal.
Blooming. Have a wonderful evening, day, morning, whatever it is that you're at. Always, we will see you soon.
Blessedly be, everyone. Thank you so much for supporting us and purchasing our books and watching and sharing our show with all that you know. We are divinely grateful, and send forth absolute blessings of love to all.
Talking brain, enlightened minds, seeking out truths, seeing the world with the mind of those who see beyond the three-dimensionally. Souls, talking brain, ask the right questions, uncover the blinds. Souls, talking brain, enlightening minds, oh yeah, seeking out truth.